The starship drifted through the endless dark of space. Its silver body shone under distant starlight, moving like a lonely giant across the void. Inside, long corridors glowed with pale blue lights, quiet, but never truly at rest. Every corner carried the weight of secrets, every shadow whispered of danger. On this ship traveled Ambassador Serenia, an alien diplomat of great power and influence. Her people ruled vast systems, and her voice could change the path of peace or war. But Serenia was not trusted by everyone. Enemies lurked both outside and inside her ship. For that reason, she had been given a protector unlike any other, a human bodyguard named Marcus Hale. Marcus was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with the quiet discipline of a soldier. His eyes scanned everything, never resting too long on one spot. To him, every sound was a warning, every flicker of light a possible threat. He had fought in wars before, but this duty was different. He was the only human allowed so close to Serenia, the only one trusted with her life. And yet trust was not simple here. Among the alien crew, whispers spread like smoke. Why a human? They asked. Why him when machines are stronger? When we have guards of our own? But Serenia had chosen him against advice. She believed humans carried something rare, an instinct to protect, even when logic said to run. She believed Marcus would stand when others might break. For days, the journey continued in uneasy silence. Marcus followed Serenia like a shadow, through council halls, through long meetings, through endless debates about peace treaties. He never spoke unless needed. His duty was not words. His duty was his body, his eyes, and his steady hand on the weapon at his side. But Marcus could feel it. Something was wrong. At night, when the ship was quiet, he walked the halls alone. Wow, engines hummed, the walls whispered, and sometimes he thought he heard soft steps behind him. Once he saw a shadow move against the light, but when he rushed forward, nothing was there. Danger was close. He felt it deep inside, the way a soldier knows a storm is coming before the first drop of rain. One evening, as Serenia returned from a council session, the air felt heavier than usual. Her alien guards walked beside her, tall and proud, but Marcus noticed their eyes flicking nervously. The silence was too sharp, too perfect. He leaned closer to her and whispered, "Stay alert." Serenia gave him only the smallest nod. She never showed fear, but she trusted his warning. They walked down a wide corridor with silver walls and glowing lines that pulsed with energy. Suddenly, a sound cut the air, a faint click, a weapon charging. Marcus spun before anyone else reacted. His voice thundered, "Down!" In a flash, figures leapt from the shadows, masked assassins, their weapons glowing with deadly plasma. The corridor exploded with light as shots fired. Without a second thought, Marcus threw himself in front of Serenia. The first plasma bolt struck his armor, burning through the metal and tearing into his side. Pain seared his body, but he did not fall. He stood tall, shielding her with his frame. He pulled his weapon and returned fire, moving with trained precision. Each shot he fired forced the attackers back, but more came, shadows rushing with blades and energy rifles. The alien guards shouted, their own weapons rising, but it was Marcus who stood at the center, holding the line. Serenia's eyes widened. She had seen battles before, but never like this. Never a human throwing himself between her and death with such fury. He did not fight for honor. He did not fight for glory. He fought for her. The corridor shook with violence. Sparks rained from the ceiling, smoke filling the air. Marcus took another hit, this time to his shoulder, but still he held his ground. He pushed Serenia behind a wall, barking, "Stay down!" Every second stretched like an hour. His body screamed in pain, but his will was iron. The assassins began to retreat, their ambush broken by his relentless defense. And then, silence. The smoke cleared. The bodies of fallen attackers lay on the floor. The rest had fled into the shadows. Marcus staggered, blood dripping from his wounds. His armor was scorched, his breath heavy. Yet his eyes searched only for Serenia. When he saw she was safe, his lips curved into the faintest smile. "You're alive," he muttered. Serenia knelt beside him, her hands trembling. Her people's laws were strict. Diplomats were never to touch outsiders, never to break protocol for those beneath them. But as she saw his blood spill across the floor, the rules felt like chains around her heart. For the first time in her long career, Serenia felt powerless. This human had shielded her with his life, and the laws of her people demanded she do nothing in return. But as she pressed her hands to his wound, trying to stop the flow, one thought burned in her mind. Would she obey her laws, or would she break them all for him? The choice was coming, and the galaxy would never be the same. The ship floated in silence after the attack. Burn marks scarred the silver walls and smoke still lingered in the air. The corridor where blood had spilled now lay quiet. But the silence was heavy, too heavy, like a storm waiting to strike again. Marcus Hale sat against the wall, armor burned and broken. His breaths came slow and painful. His blood stained the polished floor, and every movement felt like fire running through his veins. Serenia, the alien diplomat, knelt beside him. Her long silver hair hung loose, her glowing eyes filled with worry. She pressed her hands over his wound, even though she knew the council would call this act a crime. Aliens of her rank were forbidden to break protocol, forbidden to touch an outsider like this. But in that moment, she did not care. "Stay awake," she whispered. "Do not close your eyes." Marcus forced a smile. His voice was rough but steady. "Not planning to. I still have work to do." Around them, guards moved quickly, checking the bodies of the assassins. But Marcus noticed something they did not. Their masks carried no symbol, no mark of loyalty. They were ghosts, meant to vanish without a trace. "Professional," he muttered. "They won't stop." This was only the first strike. Serenia's heart sank. She wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, but deep inside she knew he was right. Whoever had sent these killers would not give up until she was dead, or until Marcus was no longer there to stop them. The guards tried to lift Marcus, but he waved them off. With great effort, he pushed himself to his feet, his legs trembling but unbroken. "You can't stand," one of the guards protested. "I can," Marcus growled. His eyes locked on Serenia. "My job is to protect her. If I fall now, they'll come again and she won't survive." Serenia wanted to order him to rest. She wanted to demand that he heal first. But when she saw the fire in his eyes, she knew nothing could stop him. Humans, she realized, were different. They did not measure loyalty in laws or logic. They measured it in sacrifice. The group moved deeper into the ship toward the ambassador's private chambers. Every corridor felt unsafe, every shadow alive with hidden danger. Marcus walked with his weapon ready, ignoring the pain that burned with every step. Later, inside her chambers, Serenia stood by the large window, staring at the stars. Her people's laws echoed in her mind. A diplomat must never favor a servant. A leader must never show weakness. An alien must never bend to a human. But when she turned and saw Marcus, his body broken, his armor scarred, yet still standing guard at her door, those laws felt smaller than they ever had before. "Why?" she finally asked. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Why risk your life for me?" Marcus didn't turn. His eyes stayed on the corridor outside. "Because it's my duty." "No," Serenia said firmly, stepping closer. "Duty does not explain this. You took the shots meant for me. You bled on this floor, not once thinking of yourself. That is more than duty." Marcus was silent for a moment. Then, slowly, he looked at her. His eyes, tired but strong, met hers. "Because I promised myself long ago that if someone I protect must die, it won't be before me. My life is the shield. That's what it means to be human." Her breath caught. In her world, promises were words wrapped in law, signed in blood, and judged by councils. But this human's promise came from nothing but his own heart, and it was stronger than any law she had ever known. Before she could answer, alarms blared again. The red glow of emergency lights filled the room. Marcus reacted instantly, his weapon raised. The guards shouted orders, rushing to form a barrier. But Serenia saw it in Marcus's face. He knew this was no random alarm. The assassins were back. The door shook as something slammed against it. Sparks flew, and the metal began to melt under a plasma cutter. Marcus shoved Serenia behind cover, his voice sharp. "Stay down, no matter what." The door burst open and shadows poured in. More assassins, faster and deadlier than before. Plasma fire lit the room, cutting through walls and furniture. The alien guards fired back, but they were overwhelmed. Marcus stood in the center of the storm, taking shot after shot, his weapon blazing. One assassin rushed him with a blade, but Marcus caught the strike on his burned armor and crushed the attacker with raw strength. Another fired at Serenia, and Marcus dove in front of her. Again, the bolt searing across his side. Pain ripped through him, but he kept moving, kept fighting, his body refusing to fall. Serenia watched in shock. Every moment Marcus was the wall between her and death. His body bled, his armor shattered, but his will was unbreakable. Finally, after what felt like hours, the assassins fell back. The survivors retreated, vanishing once more into the ship's endless shadows. The alarm silenced, leaving only the sound of Marcus's labored breathing. He dropped to one knee, blood dripping freely now. Serenia rushed to his side, her heart pounding. "You will die if this continues," she whispered. Marcus gave her a weak smile. "Better me than you." But in her heart, Serenia knew the truth. If this human died for her, she would never forgive herself, and no law, no council, no empire would stop her from saving him. The first attack had ended, but it was only the beginning of something far greater. The ship drifted in uneasy silence after the second attack. The corridors had been repaired, the scorch marks removed, but fear still lived in every corner. The crew whispered about assassins in the dark, about laws that could not protect them, and about one human soldier who refused to fall. Marcus Hale was carried to the medical bay. His armor was broken, his body covered in burns and wounds. Yet he was still alive, clinging to life with the same stubborn will that had carried him through battle. Ambassador Serenia walked beside him, her hands tight at her sides. She wanted to reach out, to steady him, but the eyes of her people were everywhere. She knew the Council's laws well. A diplomat must not show weakness. A leader must not touch an outsider. An alien must not bend for a human. And yet she remembered the moment his blood struck her hands. She remembered the sound of his voice, rough but steady, when he told her that his life was her shield. The medical bay was cold and bright. Machines hummed, scanning Marcus, stitching his wounds with alien precision. The healers worked quickly, but their faces were calm, almost indifferent. To them, Marcus was only a soldier. His survival mattered less than the ambassador's reputation. One healer turned to Serenia. "He should not be kept in this ward," the alien said. "He is human. Our laws forbid us from wasting resources on him. His wounds will heal slowly, or not at all. It is not our concern." Serenia's eyes burned. She stepped closer, her voice sharp. "He saved my life. Twice. Without him, I would be dead. If you refuse him care, then you refuse me." The healer hesitated, bowing quickly. "As you command, Ambassador. But if the Council learns of this, you will answer for it." When the healers left, the room was quiet except for Marcus's breathing. He stirred weakly, his eyes opening just enough to see her. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. His voice was rough, barely more than a breath. "Your people won't like this." Serenia knelt beside him, her silver hair falling forward, her glowing eyes locked on his. "Let them talk. Let them whisper. I will not let you die." Marcus gave a faint smile. "That's breaking the rules, isn't it?" Her jaw tightened. "Yes, but rules mean nothing to me now." For the first time in her long career, Serenia felt free. The laws of her people had guided her every step, but in this moment, they felt like chains around her heart. She was tired of chains. Days passed, and Marcus slowly regained strength. Serena visited him in secret, bringing food, medicine, even sitting at his side when the ship's lights dimmed tonight. She should have been in meetings, debating politics, but she found herself here, watching over him, and with every visit, the bond between them grew. One night, Marcus spoke softly. "Why are you doing this? You don't owe me anything." Serena shook her head. "I owe you everything. You gave your blood for me. You gave your life, and I cannot let that be wasted." Marcus's eyes met hers, steady even in weakness. "You don't understand. Protecting you, it's not about debt. It's about choice. I chose to stand between you and danger, because that's what it means to be human. That's what we do." Her chest tightened at his words. No alien law, no ancient protocol could explain this human spirit. He was not bound by treaties or fear. He was bound only by his will to protect, but the walls had ears. Rumors spread quickly through the ship, whispers of the ambassador visiting her human guard in secret, whispers of broken rules and hidden feelings. The alien council aboard. The ship summoned her. In the great chamber, voices rose like a storm. "You have touched him," one shouted. "You waste our healer's time," another accused. "You shame our laws." Serena stood in the center, her face calm, though her heart raced. "He saved me," she said firmly. "Would you have me stand by and watch him die? Would you have me thank him with silence and let his sacrifice mean nothing?" The council roared with anger. "You risk the balance of our laws for a single human." Her voice cut through their fury, sharp as steel. "Then let me risk it, because I will not allow him to be forgotten. I will not allow the human who bled for me to be cast aside like dust." The chamber fell silent. Her defiance echoed in the still air. From that moment, Serena knew there was no turning back. She had broken the first chain of protocol. She had chosen the human over her laws. And outside the chamber, hidden in the shadows, Marcus listened. He should have been resting, but he had dragged himself here, weak but determined. His heart pounded as he heard her words. For the first time, he understood. She was not just protecting him out of gratitude. She was choosing him, against her people, against her laws, against her world. And in that choice, something greater was born. But neither of them knew that the assassins were watching too, and they were planning their next move. The ship carried on through the endless dark of space, but the silence inside was broken by whispers. Crew members moved quickly through the corridors, speaking in hushed voices, their eyes darting toward the ambassador's chambers. They all knew the rumors. They all knew the story spreading like fire. The alien diplomat cared for her human guard. At first, it was only a whisper. A guard claimed he saw her kneel beside him. A healer claimed she defied council orders. But whispers have power, and soon the whole ship spoke of it. "Why him?" some asked. "She risks everything for a human," others muttered. "She is breaking our laws. She is breaking our pride." In the heart of her chamber, Serena tried to shut out their voices. She stood by the window, the stars reflecting in her glowing eyes. Behind her, Marcus sat upright on the medical bed, his wounds healing slowly. His armor lay broken in the corner, like a fallen soldier left behind. "You shouldn't be here," Marcus said quietly, his voice rough but calm. "Every minute you spend with me, you lose respect from your people. They'll turn against you." Serena turned, her silver hair catching the dim light. "Respect means nothing if it costs me my soul." Marcus tilted his head, studying her. "You're willing to risk your position, your people's trust for me? Why?" Her words came softly, but each one burned with truth. "Because you chose me over your own life twice. Because you remind me of something my people have forgotten. Honor that comes not from rules, but from the heart." He fell silent. For the first time, Marcus had no soldier's answer. He only looked at her, And in that look, something unspoken passed between them. That night, when the ship dimmed its lights to simulate rest, Serenia did not leave his side. She sat near him, speaking in a low voice. She told him of her childhood under strict tutors, of laws drilled into her mind since birth. She told him how she had never once disobeyed, never once broken the code of her people, until him. Marcus listened. He shared little of his own past, but the things he did share were raw. The battlefield where he lost friends, the vow he made to always stand between danger and those he protected, the long years of carrying scars that no one ever saw. The bond between them deepened, forbidden but undeniable. But outside her chamber, others were watching. Enemies smiled in the shadows. The council's discontent grew louder. To them, this was weakness. To them, Serenia's closeness to the human was a weapon they could use against her. The next day, as Marcus trained with a simple blade to rebuild his strength, Serenia entered the room. He looked up, sweat on his brow, but still steady. "You shouldn't push yourself," she warned. "I can't sit still," he answered. "If I stay weak, they'll strike again, and next time they'll come for you harder." She stepped closer, her voice firm. "Then let me help you." He frowned. "That's against your laws." Her eyes blazed. "So was saving your life. Yet I did it. If I must break more rules, then I will." And so she trained with him, her hands learning the human blade, her body moving beside his. Their movements grew in sync, step after step, strike after strike. It was more than training. It was trust, building silently between them. One evening, after a long session, they paused to catch their breath. Marcus studied her, and for the first time, he let his guard drop. "You know they'll use this against you," he said softly. "They'll say you've fallen, that you've betrayed your people for a human." Serenia's reply was sharp, almost a whisper. "Let them say it. Because if caring for you is betrayal, then I accept it." The words struck him harder than any blade. He wanted to argue, to tell her not to risk herself for him, but deep down he felt something stir, something he had buried long ago. And in that fragile silence, an unseen pair of eyes watched from the corridor. A spy slipped away, carrying the scene back to the council. That night, Serenia was called again before the chamber. Voices roared, louder than before. "You break protocol at every step. You dishonor your station. You shame us all for a human." Serenia stood tall, her voice like steel. "I am alive today because of him. Twice he has bled for me. Twice he has stood where no one else dared. If that is shame, then I accept it proudly." The council shouted, but one voice cut through them all, cold and sharp. "Then you are no longer one of us. Choose, Serenia, your people or your human." The chamber froze in silence. The choice had been spoken. Serenia's heart raced, but her eyes did not waver. She looked at Marcus, standing weak but unbroken outside the chamber doors. She saw the man who had given his blood without hesitation, and for the first time she felt no fear of her people's judgment. But even as she prepared to answer, shadows moved in the corners of the ship. The assassins had heard the whispers. They had seen the bond, and now they would strike where it hurt most. The ship floated in the deep silence of space, but inside its halls, fear grew like a shadow. The council's anger had split the crew. Some whispered that Ambassador Serenia had betrayed her people for a human. Others whispered that Marcus Hale was the only reason she was still alive. But in the darkness beyond the silver walls, another voice whispered louder, the voice of death. The assassins had failed twice. They would not fail again. It began in the quiet hours when most of the crew rested and the ship drifted in calm. Marcus walked slowly through the dim corridors, his side still aching from his wounds. He should have been sleeping, but his soldier's instincts gave him no peace. His hand rested on his weapon, his eyes scanning every shadow. Something was wrong. The air felt heavy like the calm before a storm. Then he heard it. Soft footsteps, too careful, too silent. He froze. The sound came from behind, then ahead, then above. He was being surrounded. Without hesitation, Marcus shouted into his comm, "Ambassador, danger incoming. Stay in your chamber and lock the doors." The reply was silence. His blood ran cold. In her chamber, Serenia sat at her desk, reading through endless reports. The lights flickered once, then again. The air felt colder, and she felt the hairs on her neck rise. Slowly she stood, her eyes scanning the corners of the room. That was when the glass behind her shattered. A black-clad figure dropped from the ceiling, blade gleaming under the faint light. His mask reflected her face as he lunged forward, aiming straight for her heart. Serenia cried out, stumbling back. But before the blade could strike, the door burst open. Marcus charged inside, weapon blazing. Plasma bolts cut across the room, forcing the assassin to leap back. Sparks flew as walls burned under the shots. "Stay down," Marcus roared, stepping in front of her. The assassin moved fast, faster than the others before. He darted across the chamber like a shadow, his blade flashing in deadly arcs. Marcus blocked, parried, but every strike sent pain shooting through his injured body. Still he stood. The assassin shifted tactics, firing a hidden wrist blaster. Plasma bolts seared the air. Marcus shoved Serenia behind a pillar, taking the fire across his armor. The heat burned his chest, but he did not fall. Serenia's hands shook as she watched. The human who had already bled for her twice now stood again, facing death without fear. Every strike he blocked, every wound he took was for her. The assassin hissed through his mask, realizing brute force would not win. He moved with cunning now, feinting one way, then striking at Serenia the next. Marcus barely intercepted, his blade clashing with the assassin's in a shower of sparks. "You'll have to kill me first," Marcus growled. The assassin's silence was more chilling than words. His blade cut across Marcus's arm, drawing blood. Marcus countered, driving his shoulder into the enemy and slamming him into the wall. But the assassin was relentless. He slipped free, firing again. His shots aimed not at Marcus, but at Serenia. Time slowed. Marcus saw the bolt flying straight for her. Without a thought, he threw himself across the room. The plasma struck his back with a searing flash. His body crashed into Serenia, shielding her as the bolt burned through him. He gasped in pain, his breath ragged, but his arms still held her safe. The assassin stepped closer, blade raised for the killing strike. Serenia's eyes widened in horror. She wanted to scream, to beg, but Marcus's voice came first, low and steady. "Run." But Serenia did not run. Her eyes blazed with fire. For the first time, she grabbed Marcus's weapon from his weakened hands. With a sharp cry, she fired. The bolt struck true. The assassin staggered, his mask cracking, his body falling to the floor with a heavy thud. Silence filled the chamber. Serenia stood frozen, the weapon trembling in her hands. Marcus leaned against her, his breathing shallow, his face pale. "You broke the rules," he whispered, a faint smile on his lips. Her voice shook. "I don't care about rules, not anymore." The assassin's body lay still, but Marcus knew this was not the end. If one had reached her chamber, others would follow. He forced himself upright, though every movement was agony. "They'll send more," he muttered. This was just the beginning. Someone powerful wants you dead. Serenia's hands clenched. She looked at him. Her protector, the man who had given everything for her. "Then let them come," she said fiercely. "If they want to take me, they will have to face us both." In that moment, the bond between them was no longer hidden, no longer forbidden. It was carved in blood, in sacrifice, in fire. But far away in the dark corners of the galaxy, their enemies prepared for war. The assassin had failed, but the storm was far from over. The assassin's body was barely cold when the council demanded her presence. The call came with sharp voices and cold orders. Ambassador Serenia will answer for her crimes. She will stand before judgment. She knew what awaited her. Whispers had grown into shouts. Her people spoke of betrayal, of shame. They claimed she had broken the ancient codes, and in their eyes, the greatest sin of all, she had chosen a human over her own laws. The council chamber was vast, with silver walls that rose high like the towers of a forgotten temple. The floor glowed faintly with alien light, casting shadows across the faces of the elders. Rows of guards stood at the edges, their weapons lowered but ready. Serenia walked into the chamber with her head high. Behind her, Marcus limped, refusing to let her face them alone. His armor was ruined, his body scarred, but his spirit was unshaken. He stood at her side, though every step sent pain burning through him. The council's voices thundered the moment they saw him. "Remove the human. He has no place here. He is poison among us." But Serenia raised her hand. "He stays." The chamber fell into silence. Her voice carried weight, strong and clear. The eldest counselor rose, his eyes cold as stone. "Serenia of the High Courts, you stand accused of breaking sacred protocol. You touched a human, you saved a human, and now you protect him as if he were one of us. Do you deny these crimes?" Serenia's gaze was steady. "I do not deny them." The chamber erupted in furious cries. Then she admits her shame. She spits on our laws. The elder raised his hand and silence returned. "Then you leave us no choice. Choose, Serenia. Your people, or the human. Your station, or your disgrace. Your honor, or your shame." Her heart pounded in her chest. She had known this choice was coming. For days she had felt the weight of it pressing on her soul. But standing here with Marcus bleeding at her side, the choice was already made. She stepped forward, her voice ringing like a blade. "I choose him." The words fell heavy in the chamber. The council exploded in rage. Voices overlapped in fury. "Treason. She betrays us all. She has fallen for the weakness of a human." But Serenia did not waver. "He has bled, for me 3 times. He has stood between me and death when none of you did. You call it weakness. I call it strength. You call it shame. I call it honor." The elder's face darkened. "You would abandon your people for this human?" Her voice cut sharp. "No. I abandon the chains that blind us. I abandon the pride that deafens us. This human shows more loyalty, more courage, more heart than any law we cling to. If that is betrayal, then I accept it." Marcus said nothing. He stood silently at her side, but inside his chest tightened. He had faced battlefields, fire and death, but never had anyone spoken for him like this. The council conferred among themselves, their voices low and filled with anger. Finally, the elder turned back. "Then hear our judgment. You are stripped of your rank. You are cast from the council. And when we return to our world, you will face exile." The chamber was silent again. Serenia stood tall, though her heart ached. Exile meant dishonor, loneliness, a life without the home she had always served. But when she looked at Marcus, when she saw the faint smile on his tired face, she knew she would bear it. One of the younger counselors leaned forward, his voice dripping with malice. "And what of the human? He has brought nothing but ruin to you. Let us end his life now and rid ourselves of this shame." Guards began to step forward. Their weapons hummed with deadly light. Serenia moved instantly, placing herself in front of Marcus. "If you touch him, you will kill me first." The guards froze. The chamber erupted again in chaos. "She defends him with her own body. She has lost her mind." But in that storm of voices, Marcus finally spoke. His voice was low, but it cut through the noise. "If you want me dead, then kill me. But know this, you will never break her, and you will never break what I stand for." His words struck, like thunder. Even the council fell silent. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the elder waved his hand sharply. "Enough. Take them away. We will decide their fate soon." Guards moved to surround them, but Serenia and Marcus stood side by side. The council had taken her rank, her honor, her place, but they could not take her choice. As the chamber doors closed behind them, Serenia whispered to him, her voice steady despite the storm. "They can strip everything from me, but not you. Never you." Marcus gave a faint smile, though his body trembled with pain. "Then, whatever comes next, We face it together. But deep in the ship's shadows, another plan was already in motion. The assassins had failed, the council had judged, but the true enemy had yet to reveal itself, and soon the final strike would come. The council chamber doors closed behind them, but the storm was not over. Stripped of her rank, Ambassador Serenia walked with her head high. At her side limped Marcus Hale, his armor broken, his body wounded, but his spirit unshaken. They had faced judgment together, but judgment was not the true danger. In the shadows of the ship, the real enemy prepared to strike. Far from the council's eyes, the assassin order gathered. Their leader spoke in a cold whisper. The council is weak. They argue over laws while we act. Tonight the human dies. The ambassador dies. And their bond will be erased forever. That night, alarms screamed across the starship. The walls shook with explosions and corridors filled with fire. Dozens of assassins swarmed aboard more than ever before. This was not a secret strike. This was war. Marcus forced his way to his feet, gripping his weapon with bloodied hands. His body ached with every step, but he stood tall. Serenia was beside him, no longer a diplomat, no longer bound by rules, only a fighter now, ready to stand or fall at his side. "Stay behind me," Marcus growled. She shook her head, her eyes blazing. "Not this time. We fight together." The corridor ahead erupted as assassins charged. Plasma bolts tore through the air, their light flashing against the silver walls. Marcus fired back, every shot aimed with deadly precision. He cut down one, then another, but the tide kept coming. Serenia moved beside him, her weapon steady. Her hands trembled at first, but then her fire grew stronger. Every bolt she fired was for him, for the man who had shielded her, who had bled, for her. Now, she would bleed for him. The assassins closed in. Blades clashed with plasma rifles, sparks raining down. Marcus fought with raw fury, even as wounds opened across his body. One assassin's blade cut deep into his arm, but he struck back, driving the attacker to the floor. Serenia faced another, her shot striking true, her voice steady as she shouted over the chaos. "You will not take him from me." Step by step, they pushed forward, their backs against the wall but their will unbroken. The ship shook with violence, the sounds of battle echoing in every hall. At last the leader of the assassins stepped forward. His mask gleamed, his blade glowing with deadly fire. He was larger, faster, more dangerous than the rest. He raised, his weapon pointing it at Marcus. "Your human shield falls tonight," he hissed. Marcus tightened his grip, though his vision blurred from blood loss. "You'll have to kill me first, and even then you'll never touch her." The assassin lunged, his blade striking with speed. Marcus blocked, but the force drove him to his knees. Serenia cried out, rushing forward, firing shot after shot. But the assassin twisted away. His blade slashed again, cutting across Marcus's side. Pain ripped through him, but Marcus refused to fall. With a roar, he surged forward, slamming his shoulder into the assassin, driving him back. The two clashed in a storm of sparks, steel against steel, fire against fire. But Marcus was slowing. His strength was fading. The assassin saw his chance and raised his blade for the final strike. Then Serenia moved. With a cry that shook the chamber, she threw herself between them. The blade cut into her arm, blood spilling, but she did not stop. She pressed her weapon against the assassin's chest and fired. The bolt struck true. The leader staggered, his mask cracking, his body collapsing to the floor. Silence fell as the last assassin lay dead. Marcus fell to one knee, gasping, his blood mixing with hers on the floor. Serenia knelt beside him, holding him up. "You fool," he whispered, his voice weak but steady. "You broke every law, for me." Her glowing eyes softened. "And I would break them all again." The ship's alarms quieted. The battle was over. The assassins were gone. Around them, the crew and council members emerged from hiding, their faces filled with shock. They had seen everything. They had seen the human bleed, fight, and stand unbroken. They had seen their diplomat defy every rule to save him. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then a voice rose from the crowd, hesitant but clear. Perhaps the laws are wrong, another voice followed. Perhaps humans are not weakness, perhaps they are strength. The whispers grew louder, spreading like wildfire. Marcus leaned against Serenia, his body trembling but his eyes still sharp. Looks like you've started something you can't stop. She gave him a faint smile, her voice soft but fierce. Then let it burn. Let the galaxy see what one human sacrifice can do. Together they stood, scarred, broken but unbroken in spirit. The council had tried to judge them. The assassins had tried to kill them. But in the end, their bond had survived everything. And in that bond, a new future was born. Not one of laws. Not one of chains, but one of choice, loyalty, and the unyielding heart of a human who had shielded an alien diplomat with his life, and of the alien who broke every rule to save him.